What is happening, guys? My name is Adam, I am a Super Swan, and welcome to another installment of the PSG experiment, where we take them across all of the European top leagues and see if they can be successful across Europe. Are they only winning the French league because it's a non-competitive league, or do they truly have the squad to win no matter where they are? Today's country in focus is Portugal. So they are in the Portuguese Premier League, as you can see here. So it's going to be mainly a battle between the top four, which is Benfica, Porto, Sporting and PSG. I think they're going to be the top teams in this league. Very similarly to the Russian experiment, I think they're probably going to be favourites to win, which, if we check the season preview, they are 3-2 on to win the league this year. But I think the question is going to be, can they improve the league reputation of Portugal? They are 7th at the moment. They are behind the Russian Premier Division. Can they usurp the Russians and become the top 6 European league? Also, can PSG win the Champions League whilst they are in Portugal? They might not even win the Portuguese league. For all we know, this is why we're doing the experiment. And as always, there has to be one team that they replace. And the story is that they're buying their place in the league. The sheikhs of PSG are throwing money at the team. And the team we've moved to France today is Club Desportivo de Tondela. And it's because they have the lowest reputation in the league. So what we'll do is at the end of the episode, we'll check and see how Tondela got on in their own French experiment, and hopefully see if they can do better than they did in Portugal. So what we'll do, guys, as always, we will go 1 year in the future, then a further 2 years in the future, then a further 3 years in the future. So PSG have got 6 years to try and win some trophies in Portugal. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the end of the current season, see how they get on in their first year in Portugal, and see if they can set the benchmark and see if they can do much better than they will after going forward. So I will see you at the end of the current season. We've arrived at the end of the first season, at the end of the 2018 season. So let's have a look at our French compadres. Let's see how they got on in their first year in Portugal. So, for whatever reason, they seem to be playing the French tournament as well as the Portuguese in the first season. That kind of fixed itself by season 2. But if we look at the league, first of all, they were top of the league, unbeaten. They didn't lose a single game in the league. Drew 3 to Porto, Bolognese and Sporting all away from home. And they won pretty much every single game. Some surprising positions. Benfica in 7th place. So they've definitely become the team that suffered the most whilst PSG are in the league. Abubakar from Porto is the top goal scorer though. So Neymar and Cavani, not quite getting the goals, but they are in the top 3 of the average rating. So definitely, well, they've already won the league in Portugal. So Champions League, they were knocked out by Barcelona in the first knockout round. So we'll have a look at their group stage just to see where they ended up there. So in their first season, they will be representing, well, because they came runners-up in the French league, but they will be representing Portugal. So there we are. So they had Chelsea, Monaco and Salzburg. They did come top of their group, but as we already know, they were knocked out by Barcelona. They were knocked out by Liverpool. I can't read. They were knocked out by Liverpool. So I've been saying Barcelona. It's because they won it. But they were knocked out by Liverpool. 4-3 on aggregate. So not the most successful in Champions League this season. But they've got another 5 seasons to go. So they came to the quarterfinals of the French Cup. They were runners-up in the Trophée des Champions, which is like the Super Cup of France. The Taça de Portugal, the FA Cup of Portugal. They won it. So they won it at the first time of asking. I think they come in the 3rd round? Or was it the 2nd round they come in? I think it might be the 2nd round, because Benfica are in the 2nd round. Oh no, it's Benfica CB. Okay, 3rd round must be then. Yeah, there we are. So 3-0 they won against Lusitania Acores in the 3rd round. They beat Serotinese or certain easy. I'm butchering all these names, so I'm very sorry to all you Portuguese fans. 3-1, they won in the 4th round. They beat Rio Ave 2-0 in the 5th round. They beat Ferenese 2-0 in the 6th round in the quarterfinals. In the semi-finals, over 2 legs, they beat Viteri, oh god, I don't even know that name, Vit Gumaries 3-1 in the semi-finals, and they beat Benfica 1-0 in the finals. They've already won the double in their first year, and in the League Cup they were runners-up to Braga. Now the Portuguese League Cup is a very interesting cup because they have the first phase and the second phase, which is kind of like the lower league clubs and the lower Premier League clubs go into it. Come the third phase, it goes into groups. So they played each other once, and PSG topped their group with Aves, Akvesu and Belenenses. So they came top of their group. They got the semi-finals where they beat Vitória Guimarães again. And then in the final they lost to Braga 2-1. So they almost did the treble in their first year of competition. Transfer-wise, they brought in 38 million worth of players. They brought in Luis Reis, he looks to be a youngster. Rodrigo Caio, who, if you watch my Saving Swan series, was a Swansea player after season 2. So, cheap plug, check that out. So, Rodrigo Caio went to PSG. Simone Zaza, the famous Euro 2016 penalty taker, he's already on the transfer list, but he's got 14 goals in 17 appearances. It's not too bad. Got him in for 11 million. Garcia Kivaruri looks to be a youngster. And Alejandro Chumaquero from Puebla, for 8.75 million. So players to leave, Ribo's left to Monaco, Kevin Romani to Faris Unknown, and Diarra's gone back to Qatar, which normally tends to happen in the saves. So that's the first season done. We're going to go ahead 2 more years and just see if they can improve. Can they win the Portuguese League Cup to go along with the FA Cup and the league? Can they win the Champions League? I will see you in 2 years' time. Welcome to 2020. It's 2 years in the future, the 3rd season in this experiment. Let's see how PSG have got on. Have they added to their trophy haul after their first year? We'll have a look. So, all the competitions here, I'm not sure what the Friendly Cup is, but we'll ignore it. It must be a pre-season tournament. But, so this was the first year in the league we've already seen. In year 2, they won the league again. Not quite as dominant as their first year, though. They were only, 5 points clear? No, 6 points clear at the top. Lost 3 games. Right, it says 3 games lost, but only 2 teams are showing. Game. You need to make your mind up. Let's try. No, see? 3 games lost, only 2 teams are there. So, they've lost 3 games or 2. Game doesn't quite understand. But Benfica seem to come back into it to finish 2nd place. Porto and Sporting 3rd and 4th. So, it looks like they only get 3 Champions League places. Probably because of the coefficient and how the leagues are ranked. But in the next season after, they won the league again only by 3 points. So, the gap is getting shorter with the league. But they have won 3 league titles in a row. And they are still 7th in the reputation. So they haven't quite got over Russia yet. So will they do that by the end of the experiment? So we'll have a look at the Champions League. We'll see if they've managed to improve their standing here. So we'll go to Season 2 to start with. And they are right at the bottom. Group H. They beat Roma, Leverkusen and Akhmat in Russia. So they did manage to top their group. And in the first knockout round, they were knocked out by Man City 6-1 on aggregate. Not even close. They were absolutely destroyed in the Champions League first knockout round. But we'll have a look at Season 3. Did they improve in Season 3? So they are in Group E by here. So they got PSG, Lyon, Fenerbahce and Olympiacos. So they did top their group just about. Same points as their old domestic rivals Lyon. They must have had a better head-to-head record there. And in the first knockout round, they were knocked out by AC Milan on away goals. So, for the last 3 years, they have not made it out of the first round of the Champions League. So that's not going to do the reputation any wonders as far as the league reputation goes anyway. But they won the Taça de Portugal, the FA Cup of Portugal. We'll have a look at the the season before, first of all. So in the first round, they were in the third round. They beat Trovense 2-2 on penalties. So they scraped through the third round. They beat Maritimo 1-0 in the fourth round. They beat Torrense 2-0 in the fifth round. So they're advancing pretty well. They beat Sporting Lisbon 1-0 in the quarterfinals. They beat Firenze 6-2 in the semi-finals. And they lost 2-1 in extra time in the final. So they've reached the final that year. So they didn't win the cup in Season 2. Did they win it in Season 3? So they beat Calades 2-1 in the third round. They beat Vit Setúbal 2-1 in the fourth round. They beat Balaneses 3-2 in the fifth. They beat Falamasio 3-0 in the quarterfinals. They beat Braga on penalties in the semi-finals. And they beat Sporting Lisbon 2-0 in the final. So that's 2 cups in 3 years for PSG. So another League and Cup double for them. And if we have a look at the League Cup, so we know they won it in the last season just gone. They beat Benfica 3-2 in the final. But we'll have a look at Season 2. So they topped their group in Season 2. They had Academia, Balaneses and Portimonenses. I'm saying these completely wrong. But they beat Sporting in the semi-final. And they lost to Porto 2-0 in the final. But as we say, we know they beat Benfica 2-0 in the final in the most recent year. But they beat Balaneses, Rio Ave and Vit Setúbal in the group stage. They beat Maritimo on penalties in the semi-final. And they beat Benfica 2-0 in the finals. They've been in every possible final since they've been in Portugal. And the Super Taça, which I'm guessing is their version of the Super Cup. So the winners of the Cup and the League come together. So they wouldn't have been in it in the first year because they wouldn't have been in Portuguese competition. In year 2, they beat Benfica 3-2. And in the third season, they lost 1-0 to Benfica again. So Benfica seem to be the second tier team in Portugal right now. But they've won 3 leagues. They've won 2 cups. They've won 1 Portuguese League Cup and 1 Super Cup already. So they are raking in the trophies. But we'll have a look at the transfers, see who they've had to bring in to get that success. And obviously they always sign Mbappe for 160 million. So you take that out of it, they spent 119 million on players. So they've brought in Leander Dendonaka from Anderlecht. Decent holding / centre midfielder, still at the club. Only played 14 appearances, 11 off the bench though, so he's not a first team player. Haidara, he seems to be in the reserves for PSG. Alvaro Oldizola from Sociedad, 25 appearances, 4 off the bench. Decent right back for them. Gonzalo Martinez from River Plate, a left or right winger. Doesn't really get much games for them though, so he's a rotation player. Grimaldo from Benfica, so they're poaching players from their domestic rivals. A decent left back / left winger. And he is still a first team player for them. But he is wanted by United and Real Madrid. So it'll be interesting to see if he leaves. Oliver Ryder for 1.3. I'm guessing he's a youth player. Yeah, he's on loan. And Samuel Bastian for 12.75 million. Pretty versatile. Could play at pretty much every position, almost. But he is generally a centre midfielder. And he's not got bad stats. But again, a rotation sort of player. As far as outs go, a lot of free transfers. Pinto left for £900, very specific. Hesse Rodriguez for 1.6, Kurzawa for 4.5. Zaza's gone to Napoli for 9 million, so they did manage to sell him. Chukwamero 2.7. Mounier's gone to Leicester for 9 million. So they rake back 27 mil, but not as much as they're spending. So season 3, 137 million spent. So a few youngsters in the first 2. David Neres from Ajax, a right winger. Looks to be a first team player. 11 appearances, 17 off the bench. Good dribbling, passing, technique and agility. We have Jeromoni Rulli. He's a goalkeeper. Looks to be their first choice. 32 appearances. Mancini from Atlanta. Centre back. Looks to be a first team player. Jordan Latomba for £12 million. Right or left back. Very versatile player on either wing. He's on loan at Young Boys at the moment, so maybe one for the future. But Casemiro from Real Madrid, here is the main man. Defensive mid or midfield, he's an elite midfielder, and he's wanted by Manchester City. So it'll be interesting to see if PSG turn into a selling club. Do they only hold on to their players for only 1 year? Fabricio Bustos for just under 10 mil. Looks to be a rotation right back. We've got Tual, who looks to be a youngster, and Jonathan Gonzalez for 7.25 million. Looks to be 6 appearances, 3 off the bench. Maybe a backup for Casemiro at midfield. 35 mil out. A lot of it's gone for Kimpembe to Bayern Munich for 27 million. A lot of loanies. And Rodrigo Caio, the Swansea City legend from the Saving Swan series, has gone out to Celta Vigo for 6.25 million. That's a bargain. Because, spoiler, in my series, we bought him for 10 mil, we sold him for 40. So he is worth it. He's a brilliant centre-back. But that's all the transfers going in and out. So what we're going to do now, guys, we're going to go another 3 years in the future. Can PSG crack the Champions League? Oh, one thing I want to check. I can't remember if I checked it or not. Did Portugal go up in the reputation? No, so they're still 7th. So, can they crack the Champions League in another 3 years? Can they get past the first knockout round? I will see you in 3 seasons' time. We have fast-forwarded 3 years in the future. It's the year 2023. Let's have a look. It's the last skip of this experiment in Portugal for PSG. We'll see how they got on. So, Unai Emery is still in charge for 6 years. Good on him for lasting that long. But we'll have a look at the Portuguese league first of all. And if you've looked at the history, you've already seen what's been going on. So this is where we left off. They just won. Or was it that one? Oh no, it's not that one. I think, I don't know. No, it's not that one. So this is where we left off. So they'd won 3 points. But then the season 4, they won it by 13 points. So back to dominance for PSG. Benfica seem to be the closest rivals to them as far as winning the league goes. And the top 4 all look to be there. Benfica, Sporting and Porto. Season 5, PSG win again. So they are, 15 points clear this time. No one seems to touch them. They were unbeaten this year. No games lost. Only drew 4 games all season. Did they go unbeaten last year? No, they only lost 1 game to Sporting away from home. So unbeaten in the league, 94 points. And in the latest year, they only lost 1 game to Porto and they won 87 points. So champions for 6 years in a row. 3 points clear of Benfica. So they have won the league every single year. And they have raised to 6th in the competition standings. So that's why they now have 4 Champions League places. Because they've gone up in the reputation. Even the Eredivisie has gone ahead of Russia. So Russia are proper dropped in the rankings. But Portugal now are the 6th best league. So they have improved the reputation whilst they've been in Portugal. Champions League. So this is the big one. Have they managed to get past the first knockout round in any of the seasons they've been in it? So this would have been season 4. Let's have a look here. So they would have qualified for the group stages. There they are in Group E. They were in with Liverpool, Udinese and Anderlecht. They won they won all but 1 game. They did go up as the group winners. They got past the first knockout round for the first time. They beat AC Milan 3-3 on away goals. They just about scraped through. Quarterfinals, they got through. They beat Napoli 4-2 on aggregate. If I can manage to press the right button. So they got for the semi-finals, where they lost to Real Madrid 6-3 on aggregate. So they almost got to a Champions League final. And that year was an all-Madrid final. And, 2 French teams, 1 former French team, and 2 Spanish teams. So they did make the semi-final in Season 4. How did they get on in Season 5? So they're right at the bottom. So they had Liverpool again, and they beat them again. So there were 16 points through Liverpool, Marseille and Club Brugge. So they did make the first knockout round. They beat Spartak Moscow 3-1. So again, they've got past the first knockout round. They got to the quarterfinals where they beat Juventus 2-1. So 2 consecutive semi-finals. but they lost on away goals to Manchester City. So they still haven't made a Champions League final whilst they've been in Portugal. And in the later season, so season 6, they're in Group F with Marseille, Roma and Qarabag. They did come top of their group once again, 15 points. And they were knocked out in the first knockout round to Sevilla, 4-1 on aggregate. So they haven't won a Champions League whilst they've been in Portugal. They've had 2 semi-finals, but that's the closest they've been. Taça de Portugal, so the FA Cup. So their version of the FA Cup. Let's have a look. We'll go through step by step. So they come in the third round. So this would be season 4. They beat Alcanese 3-0 in the third round. They beat Pinhalnovenese 2-0. I've not said that name right. In the fourth round. They beat Maritimo 2-0 in the fifth round. They beat Torinese 3-0 in the quarterfinals. They beat Benfica 6-3 in the semi-finals. And they beat Boavista 3-0 in the final. So that is their third FA Cup, I believe. We can check them once we go back. So that's another trophy to add to the cabinet. Season 5, they beat Minas de Argazagola 2-0 in the third round. They lost to Chavez, so they've finally not made a final domestically. So they lost 2-1 in the fourth round. So they've got to be very disappointed with that performance on Season 5. But Season 6, they won 3-0 against Vit Setúbal in the third round. They beat Portimao, we found them eventually, 3-1 in the fourth round. They beat Maritimo 4-0 in the fifth round. They beat Sporting 2-1 in the sixth round. They beat Boavista 4-0 over 2 legs in the semi-final. And they beat Benfica 2-1 in the final. So that's 4 FA Cups or 4 Taça de Portugals that they've won. So 6 leagues, 4 FA Cups. We'll have a look at the League Cup as well, see how many times they've won that. So again, we'll go to the group stage, because they do it slightly differently in Portugal. So they didn't make it out of the group stage in Season 4. They were beaten out by P. Ferreira. Didn't even make it out of the group. But they did make it out of the group in Season 5. They beat Braga, Maritimo and Chavez. So they did manage to get through to the semi-finals, where they beat Porto 4-0. And they beat Sporting 3-1. So they did win the League Cup in Season 5. Season 6, they did top their group on 5 points just about with Braga. Only won 1 game in the whole group. So they managed to get through, or maybe goals scored, I would imagine, in that group. They beat Sporting in the semi-final. And they beat Porto in the final. So that's 6 leagues. I think it was it 3 FA? I can't remember. 3 FA Cups and 3 League Cups. We'll have a look at the FA Cup, because I have a very short-term memory. 4 FA Cups. I do apologise, PSG. So 4 FA Cups, 6 leagues, 3 League Cups, and how many Super Cups did they win? So if we go back 2 seasons, so they beat Sporting in Season 4 2-0. They beat Boavista 3-1 Season 5, but they lost to Benfica in Season 6. So that's 3 Super Cups that they've won as well. So looking at it, can they win in Portugal? Convincingly, yes they can. They even improved the league reputation to get them 4 Champions League places. So that's how well PSG have done whilst in Portugal. But as always, what players did they bring in to get this success? So we've got Jose Best on a free transfer. He's already left the club. He looks to be a youngster for them. Skruski, 500k, probably a youngster. Lemos, is he a youngster? Oh, he's not a youngster. 27 mil, but he's already left the club. So this will be Season 4 signings now. So Carlos Sola from Valencia for 18.25 mil. He's already moved on to Hamburg. Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, or SMS for short, 58 million from Lazio. He's gone to Man City. So obviously they can't seem to hold on to their best players, PSG. I'm sure we'll see he's out coming up. Clement Lenglet for 12.25 mil, already left the club. Lewandowski from Bayern Munich. for 42.5 million. Still at the club. 34 years old now though, but he's still banging the goals. He's scored 51 goals in 86 appearances. But look at all the cups he's won. Oh, well, no, you can't see because I'm in the way. But he's won a lot of cups. Well, as we've already gone through, whilst with PSG. Malcolm from Bordeaux for 20.5 million. He's still at the club. Looks to be a rotational right winger. Antonio Barreca from Torino for 25.5 mil. Another PSG player's gone to Manchester City. Man City seem to be the parent club to PSG. They're just buying all their top players. Joseph Berger for 500k, probably youth player. Benjamin Pavard from Stuttgart for 23.5 mil. He's still at PSG, but he's arranged to join Napoli next year. So outs, so they spent £202 million, but they did let 150 million go. So where have they gone? The top one says it all. Casemiro went to Man City for 56 mil, rising to 79. So PSG are Man City's feeder club, from the looks of it. Trapp's gone to Red Bull, Grimaldo's gone to Real Madrid, Guedes has gone to Chelsea, Mancini's gone to Napoli, so a lot of their players is a very high churn rate at PSG, as much as they only seem to last a couple of years before they move them on. Season 5, £226 million spent, and there's the big name, Ousmane Dembele for £106 million, and he's still at the club, an elite winger, 16 appearances, 20 off the bench. He is still a first team player. Kenny Tete from Juventus for £48 million. A right back. Looks to be their first choice going into season 6. Reginaldo Manuel from Santos, a regen. Looks to be a very decent centre back for them. Frank Kessie from AC Milan. He's already moved on to Bayern Munich, so they haven't kept him very long. Gustavo Andrade, 625k, probably a youngster. Lucas Dressler from Salzburg, another regen. So we're starting to get into regen territory now. Look at those physicals. What a fullback he would be. Lucas Dressler, oh, we just looked at him. Irai Kumar from Basel, still at the club, very much a backup centre-back. So outs, we've got Lenglet to Atletico Madrid. We've got Gonzalez to Atletico Madrid. Barreca to Man City. Another Man City player bought. That's about it, pretty much. No other big ones. Dendenecke to Juventus. Bastian to Southampton. So that's about it really for Season 5. But Season 6, another £249 million spent. Martinez now a free transfer. A regen from Uruguay. Get some decent first team appearances for them. James Rodriguez from Real Madrid for £45 million. Looks to be a rotational centre attacking midfielder, although he has 20 appearances, so very much a first team player. Mauro Yara from Racing Club, a regen attacking midfielder. He's the one keeping James Rodriguez out of the team. Alban Lafont, a goalkeeper. Get some games for them. By all means, pause the video if you want to see the individual stats of these players. You are more than welcome to. We've got Alexandre Henrique from Sporting. Looks to be a regen. Decent physicals on him. And he's already capped for Brazil. A backup right back. Kingsley Coman for £64 million. A winger on either side. A fantastic player. 26 years old, so in his prime. 16 appearances, 19 off the bench. So he doesn't start every single game. Simone Loria from Genk, a regen centre midfielder. Rodrigo Bentancur for £40 million from Juventus. Centre midfielder for 26 appearances. Very much a first team player. Nicola Muru from Sampdoria. Backup left back for the looks of it, although 17 appearances made. Nathan Doherty from Western Sydney Wanderers. He's got to be a regen, he is. So he's a backup, 19-year-old, probably one for the future for PSG. Soulard from Rennes for 825k, a backup more than likely. And Maximilian Arnold, the last player in, versatile player. And they brought him in for 30.5 million. And he only played 5 games all season. I mean, if I was spending 30 million on a player, he would be a first team player for sure. But as far as outs go, 136 out. So the big ones out are Odriozola to Bayern, Draxler to Barcelona, Kessie to Bayern. So Bayern seem to be hoovering up a lot of these players. SMS, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, Man City are the ones to buy him. Bustos to Man United, Sola to Hamburg. So Man City seem to be hoovering up, and Bayern Munich seem to be hoovering up a lot of these Bayern Munich players. So the question needs to be asked, can PSG win in Portugal? Yes, they can. The last thing we need to do is to look at our old friends, the ones we swapped over for PSG in France. If we go back to the first season, it'll be Tondela. So they got relegated in their first season. So they went straight down to Ligue 2 in the French league. So not quite up to scratch for a Ligue 1 team. But how did they do in the second season? So year 2, they came in 6th place. Fairly respectable, just outside the playoff places. 6th again in season 3. They came 3rd in season 4. They must have missed out on the playoffs. They must have been knocked out, I would imagine. They came 5th in season 5. And they came 13th in season 6. So they've definitely dropped down in the later season. But they've definitely been an upper tier Ligue 2 team. So maybe give them another 6 years, they could go back up to Ligue 1 without any problems. So, okay, they've got relegated from the Ligue 1, but they've done decently in Ligue 2. So, well done, Tondela. You've done a good showing of yourself. Well done, guys. So, that's going to be the end of this experiment, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We have done other European countries, so you can check in the description down, I have to keep on looking at the webcam, down below to see all the other countries. If I remember, I'll also leave an indicator like in the top left hand side up there somewhere, so you can click and see the playlist for the PSG experiments. And hopefully, guys, check them out. Check out the channel for more FM18 content, for a series of Saving Swans and the experiments as well. And hopefully I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.